7th of August, Fight Camp Week 2, live on DAZN across the world. The headline act, two young men who met as a 22 and 23-year-old for the British Super Bantamweight title, now meet again 8 years on as a 30 and a 31-year-old for the IBF World Featherweight title. Kid Galahad and Jazza Dickens, 8 years on. What a rematch this is.
What a fight. What a fight. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. You know, the first fight was a cracker. Two young men that were challenging for the British title. Now they're fighting for the IBF World title. It gets no bigger. Like I say, the first fight, the styles gelled, and I expect the same to happen this time.
We don't want to look too much into that first fight because it was a long time ago. They've both evolved and changed as fighters and as men. Kid Galahad, though, 18 months out of the ring. Jazza Dickens, a very active 2020, unusually so with the pandemic, but he had great momentum and a brilliant performance in that golden contract. Do you think that could play into his hands in this fight?
For him and his team, they'll hope so. Confidence is through the roof, winning the golden contract and looking good. You know, he's a very good fighter. He's a thinking fighter. He can be ferocious and aggressive when he wants to. But there's something about Kid Galahad. He's just got this knack, this way of winning. He truly believes he should be a world champion already after fighting Josh Warrington. It's just a great matchup and a real pick-em fight.
Well, let's get the gear on and see where this fight may be won and lost. So what we have here is a southpaw against a very adept switch hitter. Feel like there's going to be probably quite a lot of fencing going on in the early stages here. We're going to look first of all at Kid Galahad. Some of the techniques he uses to switch, actually very, very clever, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, you're always trying to create openings, and one of the best ways to do that when you're in close is to get either side of your opponent, and therefore it just generates and opens up a whole different side to the body. And what he does well, especially from the orthodox stance, is he gets round the southpaw so well and so quickly.
And he has a very high lead hand when he's orthodox, doesn't he? And he will need that in this fight. We saw it against Claudio Marrero, and he uses that to kind of occupy that lead hand, take it out of play. And then when he's happy and comfortable that the opening is there, he'll kind of touch it down, he'll step aggressively on the outside, and then the right hand will come down the middle. So let's have a little go with there. So obviously he's dropping, he keeps that lead hand unpacked to occupy Jazza Dickens' left hand. As soon as he feels like he's taking it out of play, he steps in, bang, front leg round the side, and then at this point he closes that space right in, uses that forearm, and at that point is when he switches. Gives himself the space, and then he comes back with a southpaw left hand. That is quite sort of disconcerting if you're the fighter that's being sort of attacked or on the defence, isn't it? Where do you stand on the forearm usage?
It all depends on the manner of it. You know, if you're really shoving it in, then no. But the way Kid Galahad does it is very subtle. So he'll be in close, like you say, and he'll just sort of allow himself space. I mean, at times when his opponent's back's on the ropes and they're pushing it up, it does look very illegal. The chin comes up, etc., and usually the ref will jump in. But like I say, he's very subtle. He's very crafty and clever with it. But what it does do, it does give him space. He does get that half a yard just to be able to let his shots go round the angles as well, allowing himself space. He's a very clever fighter, Kid Galahad.
So this is Galahad against Claudio Marrero, fellow southpaw. Galahad switch hit plenty against them and switch hit very well. Here's an example of when he was in the orthodox stance, just taking away the lead hand of Marrero. You see the way he deliberately steps around, uses that lead hand to fence, steps around the outside, and then he uses that lead forearm, like we were talking about, to occupy Marrero, whilst he then switches.
It's very smart. He's a master at finding openings. He creates angles so well. But yeah, he uses that forearm. Some would say it's illegal, but the way he does it is very smart, and he allows and finds space to be able to switch into the southpaw stance and let his hands go. It's clever stuff from Galahad.
So as I said to you, we don't want to read too much into a fight that happened 8 years ago because they have changed. But there are some things that fundamentally are going to still work for both fighters. When Kid Galahad was southpaw, some of Jazza Dickens' sort of forward raids and bursts, changing up the levels, worked really, really well. What impressed you about him?
The variation, like you say, the levels, head, body. One thing I noticed with Kid Galahad, when he doesn't move his feet out, what I will say, he's a brilliant at dictating the space and really finding his range quite early on. But now and again, and you've seen it before with some of the Ingle fighters, when they don't bring their feet out, they stand tall.
They lean back,
They lean back and the chin's up in the air. So the good thing to do against a fighter like that is target the body and mix up the levels. And that's what Jazza Dickens done so well in the first fight.
So when Kid Galahad was southpaw, Dickens had quite a lot of success with this combination, mixing up the levels. And because Galahad was backing out in straight lines and at some point holds his feet and lifts up, that double right hook to finish was very successful. Let's just have a look at that combination as he stepped forwards. Once more. Yeah, good. That's the problem sometimes with Kid Galahad, is that when his feet are good and his balance is under him, brilliant, but just occasionally he does hold his feet and then he lifts up.
He controls the distance so well, but now and again when he doesn't bring his feet
You're not out of breath, are you?
It's been nearly 8 years, Chris. Yeah, when he doesn't bring his feet out, like a lot of the Ingle fighters, they come tall, chin comes up in the air. So it's so important for Jazza Dickens. He did it so well in the first fight, but to change the levels. This can't move nowhere. Though the head can come back, you might miss some of the head shots. This stays there. So he will have success with the body shots.
And again, Darren, one thing that we talked about, the excellent body work from Galahad, speaking to a couple of people who have sparred him regularly over the last 2 years or so, both have testified to him being a really solid body puncher and invests in it smartly in these fights, as he does here.
Yeah, he works it so well, changes the levels, the straight right hand, curves it round the elbow as well, good variation with the body work. Very, very smart boxer, very experienced now, knows exactly where to target and when to target. Look at the foot on the outside of the southpaw.
And then you see that's the switch. So he drags that right foot. Normally you'd see a fighter pivot off with their foot round the back to stay in the same stance, but he drags that foot in, shuts the space down, uses that forearm to again push the head down of Marrero, and then when he comes out of the pocket, Galahad is now facing him in the southpaw stance and in a position, if he wants to let his hands go.
Exactly. You have no idea where he's going to be, what position he's going to be, what's going to be coming at you. Very, very smart.
So as I mentioned, 8 years on, that the physical difference in the two of them is very obvious, but they've only actually gone up 4 pounds from super bantam to featherweight, carrying a lot of muscle mass these days, both in their early 30s. There is a chance that they're starting to get a little bit tighter at the weight now, and therefore investment in the body early in this fight could pay crucial dividends down the stretch.
Yeah, I think so. I've been asked lots of times, what's it like when you're getting hit on the arms and around the body through a 12-round fight? And the best way I can describe it to the man that hasn't been in the ring is if you've ever played a computer game, a Street Fighter or something like that, and you see the power bar and it just drops and drops and drops, you're just sapped of energy. Your legs get heavy, your arms get heavy, you struggle to move. And I mean, look, the crippling body shots that wind you, you're out of action. You know, if you're managing to stay on your feet, you're in all sorts of trouble. But it's the ones that you don't really see round the side. They might catch you around the back, on your arm. Everything just gets heavy and it slows you down. So talking about the weight coupled with the potential bodywork that both fighters might use, that could be a really good tactic to really slow the opponent down and try and get a good late finish.
Jazza Dickens will obviously take a lot of confidence from his recent performances. Is there a chance that Kid Galahad is overlooking him in this fight because he got the stoppage last time out?
I don't think so. And the reason I don't think that is because of what's at stake. This is his chance to do what he truly believes he already should be. He believes he beat Josh Warrington. It's the IBF world title. It gets no bigger. This is their chance to fulfil a dream. So I believe both men will start fast. I think Jazza Dickens, we've seen him before. He does like to get going from the off. Kid Galahad, potentially out of the two, is a slower starter. But I do think, like I say, because it's a world title, the bell's going to go and they're just going to get down to action.
Well, other than the event of a draw, one of these two will be walking away as the new IBF World Featherweight Champion. Kid Galahad and Jazza Dickens. Headline Week 2, 7th of August, live on DAZN around the world.
Thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe All Media New York.